It would be embarrassing for us all if I were to attempt the Tarzan yell, so I'm just going to show you a clip instead for the intro. The Legend of Tarzan. Finally, a Tarzan movie. When's the last time we saw a live-action version of a Tarzan film? I'm not including the animated films. What is the last live-action one we've seen? Anyway, in The Legend of Tarzan, Tarzan is no longer Tarzan. Instead, he's in England. He's at his father or his parents' manor. He's taken on his birthright name, and he's living with Jane. Unfortunately, something really bad is going on in the Congo. The King of Belgium is colonized the area. He's enslaved several tribesmen, and he's massing a mercenary army in order to keep it all going. Unfortunately, he needs to pay him off with these diamonds because he's in a lot of debt. Diamonds in the Congo, which our main villain, Christoph Waltz, is searching to find. This very secluded tribespeople will give him the diamonds as long as Christoph Waltz brings Tarzan to them. Because the leader's got some beef with Tarzan. So Tarzan, Jane, and Samuel Jackson now go to the Congo to investigate and free slaves. I know that plot seems a little convoluted and complex, but it's really not all that bad once you're watching the film. It's actually pretty simple and surprisingly fun. Now I can see people that normally just want to go to the movie theaters, just want to see a movie to have fun. I can see them wanting to skip out on Legend of Tarzan because the trailer made it look to be a very serious, dark, foreboding film. There are definitely elements of that, and there is enough seriousness to ground the film. But overall, it's actually a really lighthearted, fun action adventure. And if you want to see just that, you might want to see Legend of Tarzan. Yeah, there's a lot more humor, a lot more fun, a lot more action to be had from Legend of Tarzan than the trailers make it out to be. First off, acting. Alexander Skarsgård. Yeah, he's a really good Tarzan. Not only does he look the part, but he embodies Tarzan completely in this film. Even some of his mannerisms and his facial expressions looked pretty ape-like. In a good way, in a good way. Even when he was sad or concerned about people, he almost imitated the way that apes would express that emotion, or at least express that in films. He's definitely more of the silent, strong type, but that's what you kind of expect from Tarzan, is it not? Margaret Robbie was really great as Jane. Yes, she is a damsel in distress. Yes, she does get kidnapped, but she fights, she does everything she can to get out, and she is independent and strong. So to those people that will complain that, oh, she's just a damsel in distress, I think there's enough in there, enough independence and enough strong-willedness in her that they will respect that. Christoph Waltz is the main villain of the film, and there might not be a lot to him on the surface, but honestly, I really enjoyed his character and I enjoyed Christoph Waltz's performance because even though he's not the over-the-top person we expect him to be in other films, he's more subdued, similar to Spectre. So if you don't like that side of Christoph Waltz, you might not like him in this. But I think there is more to his villain, and there's some sort of badassery to him. I mean, hell, he can kill people with a crucifix. He's calculative, he is manipulative. I think he's actually a really good villain. And Samuel Jackson's sort of the life of the party in this movie. He's the comic relief, he's the everyday normal guy. Yeah, he is a soldier, yeah, he is a sharpshooter, he's an excellent soldier. He's fought in the Civil War. So he's not all that normal, technically. But for this movie, he is the normal guy because he's not used to the Congo. He's American, and he's not as athletic as Tarzan or any of the tribesmen that journey in some of the action sequences. He's a shooter, not a runner. So he's the character in this film that asks questions so that we can get backstory, so we can get relationships, so we know what's going on. And he gives little commentary almost like riff tracks would. So he definitely adds a lot of humor to the film, and I liked him in it. But then again, I am a fan of Samuel Jackson, so it's hard not to like him in this film. Now, I was not expecting an origin story, and it isn't. But if you are expecting an origin story, then you might be sadly disappointed by the film. Because it's not an origin story. That's all done in flashbacks. Kind of like Deadpool style. Except the beginning flashbacks make sense, but some of the flashbacks towards the end of the film do feel a little random and out of place at times. But no, instead we get the story of Tarzan, who's been living in England, who has grown accustomed to that lifestyle or gotten used to it, who goes back to the Congo for his roots and to deal with a situation. And as the movie progresses, he becomes more and more like the Tarzan of old. I really enjoyed that side of the film. I wish there actually was a little bit more of it. But at that same time, it could be a little slow to some, because after the action sequence with Christoph Waltz and his army, right after that it goes into Tarzan and then him slowly going back to the Congo. And that part could drag on a little bit until finally the action starts and there's an attack on the tribe. The tribe they're staying with for a little bit, because they're family. And I definitely like that there is some seriousness to the movie and it doesn't bog it down with that over-serious dark tone. Yes, there are moments where it is almost filtered in gray, but there are mixtures of really beautiful scenes as well where it actually looks really great in beautiful jungle. Dangerous jungle, but very beautiful. That filter of gray only happens when there's a mist, or it actually means to be because it is a darker scene, or a more foreboding scene. I like that. There's definitely enough seriousness to really gravitate towards some of the characters, care about them, but also have enough fun to be entertained for a popcorn blockbuster film. But even though the action sequences are fun, they are entertaining, there are a few moments where they get done too quickly, and I wish there was a little bit more to it. Also, we are pretty spoiled now after The Jungle Book. I mean, The Jungle Book was really great CGI, Warcraft was really great CGI, even the BFG is really great CGI. We're coming to a point where there's a lot of really great, stunningly visual, almost realistic, well, pretty much realistic looking CGI. And so this one is more of the normal rather than that high spectrum. This is on the normal side of nowadays. So the animals do look a little cartoony. So if you're spoiled by, okay, we've seen all this great stuff, we expect everything to be that great, then you will be disappointed by some of the CGI in The Legend of Tarzan. Not to say that all of it is terrible. When it is close-ups of animals, they do really look great. Not to the realism of The Jungle Book, but there are plenty of times when there's multiple animals, they get really cartoony and silly looking. Plus, every time that Tarzan swung on a vine, or anyone swung on a vine, it looked really... That was the time when the CGI looked bad for me. Everything else was passable or normal or really good. The swinging was the time where it looked bad. This is also a movie that feels more like a sequel, probably because it is, maybe? And mainly because the origin is told through flashbacks, and they explain some of the relationships, some of the animals, but then you're expected to know even greater detail about them or really feel emotional during certain scenes, but you don't feel that emotion because you get very little of it in the flashback scenes. One of which is I'm talking about his adopted brother, Ape, which I won't go into details, but there is a moment where it's supposed to be very impactful, very holy crap, but you don't get a lot of that said Ape, you get more of the mother, and so there is something lacking in there. And so there are other times like that throughout this movie where it feels like it almost needed another movie and this needed to be the sequel, but instead we combine it into one and have the origin story through flashbacks. Overall, I found this a fun, entertaining film. There is enough gravitas to it without feeling too fun and too dumb and too crazy. And I feel there is greatness to it, but there is a serious lacking within that greatness. But there is great potential to have a fun time, so I'm going to give The Legend of Tarzan 3.5 stars. So have you seen The Legend of Tarzan? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015 and 2016. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.